The Final One Standing by William Hill on Off the Ball. Download the app and play today. 18 plus gamblingcare.ie.
All right, and we're live. You're very welcome along to this week's episode of Final One Standing. We nearly had the Final One Standing in form of Michael McCarthy, but he was top three. He's claiming second on the basis of the results. We'll get into that in just a few minutes' time. In the meantime, we're saying a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to Lee Phelps. Lee, how are you? Hi, Lee. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, good. How are you getting on?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, shame about Mick, doesn't it? But great that we got a winner anyway.
Yeah, it's a shame about Mick in the Off the Ball League, which was like small and local, but he's still going strong in the $500,000 league.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting how that's going. We'll reflect on the Off the Ball winner in a second, but just on the 500,000 league, 76% of players going for Brentford this weekend, 20% going for Aston Villa. So 96% of players in round 13 are going for two teams. So we could really whittle down that. I think there's about 1,600 players left, just there or thereabouts, from the original nearly 300,000. So it could be a big week. And of course, we've got a league next week, midweek as well. So by this time next week, we could be down to either a winner or someone very close to it.
So it's Brentford Burnley 3 o'clock Saturday, and it's Villa Wolves at 2:05 on Sunday. Both very strong home favourites this week. But if they were both to get turned over or to draw, then all of a sudden there's going to be almost nobody left.
Yeah, it starts to look really interesting then, doesn't it? Because obviously people are down to, not having many left. I mean, there'll be some teams this weekend who don't have any picks, who are just zero, because obviously we're down to round 13, so a lot of teams have been picked. So yeah, it's going to start to get really interesting very quickly, I think. Well, look, I mean, Brentford and Villa both should win. So if that's the case, then 96% of players go through, and we go on again, and we go again until we get to a point where there's hardly any teams left.
Why do you still have Brentford left, Mick? You were suspicious of them the whole way through.
I don't know.
You've gone with Brentford, sorry, I should specify.
Yeah, I have gone for Brentford this week in the big one. I had Villa saved me in the big one last week, but I didn't have them, unfortunately, in the Off the Ball League. Yeah, I don't know. I've always liked Brentford at home this year. I've talked about it on the show many times. Even since the first time I think I watched them against Chelsea that night, and obviously they dominated United, and they've just been this real hard team to beat. There's a great atmosphere there. Kind of trust them at home to Burnley, I have to say, so glad to still have them.
Yeah, me too. You think only Man City have beaten them at home. They've beaten Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester United, Villa on penalties in the Cup and in the Premier League, and they drew with Chelsea. Burnley have lost 5 on the road. The only place they've won is at Wolves. Lowest shots on goal record in the Premier League since 97-98. It's hard to see how Brentford don't win this game. Now, they're a very short price, by the way. I'm not sure I'd want to back Brentford customarily at this kind of price, but against Burnley, you just have to go. I mean, Igor Thiago's been fantastic for them this season. It's really interesting when you look back at his career. He had seasons in Hungary and Belgium where he got double figures in his goal returns. Now, I'm not saying they're Premier League. He was bought as a replacement for Ivan Toney. He had a knee injury for the whole of last season, but he's come in this time round. He's got 10 in all competitions already, 9 in the Premier League. He cost £33 million 2 seasons ago. He's too short to be back in now, unfortunately, but they've got other great strikers as well in that team. Brentford. I think they'll get through. 76% of players will be very pleased when they do as well. Yeah,
Mick was thinking, I've saved this. I'll be one of the last few standing with this, but actually everybody's got the same one.
Picked Brentford yet.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Mick, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you look at the 12 rounds so far, as we know with football, form changes and things move. And West Ham have suddenly come. Forest are suddenly a team who've given people a pick in the last few weeks. There'll be a lot of people who may have leads left, and they'll be hoping they find some form at some point in the next 2 weeks. That's where it's going to get interesting, when the teams that you've got left suddenly are out of form as well, because you've been hoping that some form turns around. Maybe Bournemouth might be one of those teams. Sunderland people might still have in their back pocket. So it's going to be fascinating. The really interesting week's going to be the ones where you suddenly look and you go, oh no, none of those have got any form and they're away from home. What am I going to do?
You were saying, Mick, your strategy was pick a home team as much as you can. You had to go Villa away last week.
Yeah, Villa away was the first away team, and even then, like, you'd trust Villa to beat Leeds on a neutral ground, and certainly at Villa Park, and it was hard work at Ellen Road. Like, they got the crap kicked out of them for 45 minutes, and that's what happens. And home advantage is massive, and if you're backing a team to win, whatever about getting a result or not being beat, but to win a game, I find that, like, I kind of tried to just look at the left side of the ledger, and if it gives me an option, I'm happy. And if, like last week, didn't really have one, you're kind of scrambling.
There's Everton, by the way. Have you still got Everton in your...
Still have Everton, yeah. They're Newcastle this week. Everton might provide somebody in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, they've got Forest. I think early December they've got Forest if we're still running by then. But then Forest are obviously suddenly all of a sudden playing really well.
There's only 39 left in the second of the Ball League. We've whittled them down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm in that too. I don't know if any of you are.
I am, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I forgot about it after a week.
Good man, Ben.
I'm so caught up with West Ham's recent good form that every other team goes out my head.
It's funny, I was kind of like obviously living and dying by Bournemouth last Saturday, but at the same time I did have Brighton, who were behind in that game against Brentford, funnily enough, and came back to win 2-1.
You had Brighton?
Yeah, so that's kept me alive in that one.
I actually had Brighton in that one as well. Anyway, let's talk about, before we didn't want to start really with Burnley, but it's how you get sucked into these things. Lee, Mick is back and was actually beaten in the off the ball league. He's claiming second place.
Well, Bournemouth survived longer than Liverpool, who the third person had. So we'll over the course of Saturday afternoon, when all three games were played, it was quite thrilling actually, because Palace made short work of Wolves, which I probably should have picked in fairness.
You had Palace, did you?
Yeah, I did. I just thought Wolves changed their manager. It was the worst possible week to go against them, but it turns out they're rubbish.
Yeah. So I think that it's hard. I think Palace have become a team. I'm not telling anyone anything they don't know already, but when you look at Palace, they're a very solid team, aren't they? But they've also got players who can go and win games for you as well. Obviously everyone knows about Mateta, and there's Sarr, and there's Pino, and there's Munez. But there's players who just, if Mateta's having a quiet week or isn't scoring goals, Pino steps up, or Sarr's in there to do it. So yeah, I think I can see why people had kept Palace for a while and why they were a good pick. I mean, look. Liverpool, you'd be absolutely gutted at the way that went. I mean, even though they were out of form and even though they weren't playing great, you'd expect them to go and get the win, wouldn't you? It's like you expect them to win that game, as you would this weekend. You expect them to go and beat West Ham, but no one's now suddenly the confidence has dropped right out of them. So yeah, I think Liverpool was a fair enough pick for people to have last week. It's all well and good being an after-timer and saying, you shouldn't have picked Liverpool. They were a short price to win. It's not like they were kind of like odds against or anything, is it? I
really agree with that. When I saw there, I have to say, the person who had Liverpool, I thought, well done. I can't believe you got to week 13 with Liverpool without even using, and that you survived this long. It's like they didn't deserve for Liverpool to go out and lose 3-0 at Anfield. No. But congrats to the person who did win, though, because it was a great journey. So I'm glad. There's a part of me that obviously wanted to win for the glory, and then obviously for the money for charity. But there's a part of me that's also congrats to the listener of Off the Ball, who won $2,500, which I wouldn't have been able to keep.
There you go. That's maturity.
What a guy. Absolutely. Congrats. It's the first kind of big winner, if you like, that we had in the final one standing leagues as well. So great to see that. There's a few other kind of private leagues that were started at the same time as the Off the Ball one. They've got 3 people left and 30 people left. The Evoke, our league, William Hill, Evoke, our parent company, 3 left in there as well. I went out in round 7 somewhere. £500 for the winner of that one, or the equivalent, kind of like in the various territories that we've got. So that probably will get won this week. Although I've noticed that 2 of the 3 have already gone for Brentford, I think it is. So it could be that if Brentford lose, and obviously everyone's picked the same pick, then it gets split 3 ways. But hopefully we'll have one clear winner like we did in the Off the Ball League. It's fantastic to see that. And the winner of course, not everyone wants publicity, which absolutely fair enough. So the winner, I hadn't ticked the right box for us to be able to go and ask for publicity, but brilliant. If they're listening or watching, congratulations. Absolutely thrilling journey to get there, and well done.
Can I ask you a few questions about the prices this week, right? So West Ham, it's West Ham versus Liverpool. Liverpool at which obviously it's not really a great home venue, but Liverpool are still massive favourites. They're 11-8 on, 16-5 for West Ham. And I have a similar question about Man United, right? Palace are slight favourites, 13-10, 19-10 for Manchester United. Do people still just back Manchester United? And do people still? They do, yeah. So
and Liverpool, absolutely, I mean, if we went out, and I get it, and I think the answer to part of the question that you didn't ask is why are they that price, and the answer to that is go and back the other team. It's like if you genuinely feel like Palace are too big and West Ham are too big, go and back them. I tend to agree. I think I don't know why Palace should be that price, but if we start giving Man United out and Liverpool out at big prices, then we will get filled in. And if they win, then you're looking at, then as a trader, which I'm not, by the way, but as a trader, you kind of you're answering questions like, why did you put Liverpool and Manchester United out at such big prices? And
my swipe card stopped working over the weekend at some point. Something happened.
Yes, Liverpool more of Manchester United, I think, have been in this predicament for so long now that I think you can probably start, wondering. But Liverpool, no one would equally be surprised if they came out and gave West Ham an absolute thumping. They've scored 5 goals against them 3 times in the last 5 head-to-heads. So if Liverpool suddenly click and they suddenly start scoring goals and Ekitike gets a couple and suddenly they're a good side again, then you're like, okay, why did we make them such a big price? We learned from Man City last year, though, didn't we? That doesn't happen. If Liverpool are in the same kind of predicament as Manchester City were last season, then this could go on for a little while now, and take the value, take West Ham or the draw.
It'd be an interesting double. You can put low stakes on it because, West Ham have won their last 3 games.
Draw against Bournemouth. But
Sorry, I felt like they won last week because they screwed me. But right. West Ham are unbeaten in 3, let's say, and Liverpool lose every game. And then I don't know if there's a more a standout fixture for the type of game that Manchester United lose than away to Palace on an early afternoon game in that kind of venue. It just I would look at that and think it could obviously go either way, but I'd nearly say the most likely result is Palace winning.
Yeah, but Manchester United have failed to score in their last 4 games against Palace away, and they had a really good record from 93 to 21, where they won in the 16 visits to Selhurst Park, they won 12 and drew 4, I think. So the last couple of years has, even in the bad years after Alex Ferguson, United were still picking up results at Palace, but Palace are on the upward trajectory. But the thing is, from a Manchester United perspective, can they take advantage out of Crystal Palace's game last night against Strasbourg in the Conference League? And Palace have shown this season that their form directly after European games hasn't been great. And 12 o'clock on a Sunday, it's a rotten kickoff time, especially for the away team as well. So I think it could be a boring 0-0 draw.
I totally agree with that. I've got the same sort of things written down. When they come back from Europe, the 2 home games have both been draws, and they've both been draws against teams that you wouldn't class as being in the upper echelons of the Premier League. So I think it was Forest and Brighton, and when Forest weren't really at it, and Brighton they're a decent side, but away from home, then nowhere near the side they are at home. So I think the draw. I think it's got draw written all over it. Mateta's got a good record against Man United, 3 goals in 3 against them. But you're right about that strange record of keeping clean sheets against them. Remember, they beat them 2-0 at Old Trafford. It was 0-0 at their place, 4-0 the season before that, and 1-0 at Old Trafford. So, they've really got a good record over them. I think I'd go for the draw as well on that one. And West Ham, look, they played really well in the first half last week. They were pretty abject in the second half and ended up drawing 2-2. When they were beating Burnley 3-1 and started to play well, Burnley got a late goal and started to really put them under pressure. So West Ham may start well, but if Liverpool can stick to their guns, I think there's a point at least in there for Liverpool. So whether you go for that West Ham Palace double, which is getting on for 9-1, which wouldn't put anyone off, but the draw double is 12-1.
At some point, Liverpool are going to have a draw, right? At some point this season, Liverpool are going to have their first draw of the season. It's insane.
Yeah, there's loads of ways of doing this as well. You can go for Crystal Palace plus a goal and West Ham plus a goal. Much shorter price, by the way, but effectively you're backing Palace in the draw and West Ham in the draw. It won't be anywhere near as good as 8-1 or 12-1. But there are a few ways into this, and I think it's an interesting couple of games. I think, without going too off the beaten track here, I think Sunderland at home and Everton at home are a similar kind of double that I like on Saturday, where you've got Everton at 9-5 to beat a Newcastle team who are abject away from home, and Everton are decent enough at home. And Sunderland 2-1 to beat a Bournemouth team. Sunderland again, last home game they drew 2-2 with Arsenal, the champions elect apparently, and Bournemouth again pretty poor on the road, and that double is 7.5-1 Sunderland and Everton at home.
The casual drop of the word apparently there suggests some scepticism on your part, Lee.
Well, I just think it's early. I mean, they are brilliant, aren't they? I just think it's really early in the season to be handing them the title when they haven't done it before. But I think they probably will do it. I'm not saying. I just think champions elect at this stage is a bit of a stretch when you know that the likes of Man City can go on long winning runs.
Yeah.
But they can't keep losing games because, I think Arsenal may well just, be consistent and win the title through consistency, because I don't think Liverpool obviously have pretty much gone 20-1 to win the title now. Man City, they are throwing in a loss too many times, and Chelsea, I think on their day they are a very good side, but don't think they'll have the consistency. If they beat Arsenal this weekend, then that's really interesting, isn't it? But I still don't think Chelsea have got the consistency. So in the end, Arsenal probably will win it, won't they?
Chelsea are 9-4, Arsenal are 6-5 to win that game. That's a big price about Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, there is. They haven't, beaten Arsenal there since 2018, though. They haven't beaten Arsenal full stop since 2021 either. So, it's a tempting price. I think some Chelsea fans might be interested in that. But look, I've questioned Arsenal. I questioned them after drawing 2-2 with Sunderland and said, it's a big test, this Northumberland derby. They ticked that box well. And I said, well, yeah, can they go and back it up against Bayern Munich, though, a few days later? Tick. It's like, you can't keep questioning them, and if they keep ticking boxes, if they get a draw here or a win here, then it's another huge tick, isn't it? I'm looking forward to the game. I'm looking forward to seeing how Chelsea approach it, whether they try and somehow play for a draw and hope they get a bit of like magic and nick it 1-0. The last two games at Stamford Bridge between these two have been draws. I'm looking forward to Cucurella versus Saka as well. It's been an interesting battle between those two, not only between these two clubs, but also between Spain and England as well, of course, in the Euro final when Cucurella got the better of Saka, setting up the winning goal. But if you like your bet builders, this is probably a good one. Saka has 3 assists in 4 games against him for Chelsea. The Blues fullback averages 3.5 tackles in his career against Arsenal's star boy, and a yellow card in each of his last 3 against them as well. So if you're looking at a bet builder, Saka to score or assist and Cucurella to pick up a card, or you can go into tackles and fouls. I think it's really interesting. All
right.
I don't know if it'll... there's something in me that thinks it could be 0-0 for a long time, then one of them wins it 1-0. It'll probably end up being 4-4 now, won't it? But, I think it'll be a controlled game. I've seen Chelsea a lot this season, and they can be pretty boring in the first half.
Maresca loves...
Go into it.
Yeah, it's that pep thing. It's like, whatever, we're not going to go mad here. Anything else from you, Lee?
There's a couple. Look out for the epic boosts. We'll have epic boosts on the live Premier League games. I'm sure obviously be one on the Chelsea Arsenal game. There's one on Volta-Marder as well in the Newcastle match. But yeah, for me, I think there are some interesting home prices this weekend. I'd probably be looking at chucking Brentford, City, Sunderland, and Everton in a knacker boost home wins on Saturday.
All right, good stuff, Lee. Great to have you with us. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.